For nearly 200 years, I've sat in this same spot, looking over the city, ticking over each day, counting every second, proclaiming it without a voice but with my face and the strangeness of my hands, to Bristolians below, hearing about the world from their mutterings. For the next 11 minutes, I'll recall memories of my 2 time zones and the 11-minute gap between them. Between 200 years of stories, a second minute hand, a railway, a restoration, a revolution. Birthed by Thwaites and Reed in Clerkenwell, London. 1819 it was. There are lots like me across the country. My matronic siblings sit in towers and turrets. In 1822, when I was 3, they sat me in the Exchange where I sits now. A building built on trade and bartering, on rumours and corn. Long before I arrived and called this place home, merchants traded inside the chessboard hall. The triangular transatlantic trade, sugar, coffee, tobacco, the product of a barbaric chain involving enslaved human souls. The Exchange building was built on bones. The trade was rightfully abolished, but the money still flowed, led to centuries of this city exchanging only silence, a silence still heard by many. People really looked up to me, mind, their great hats fallen off their heads as they looked up in awe. Some were travelling to the Great Wen, but that took days. Sitting west of London town, I was wound to the sun. 11 minutes behind, I ticked to Bristol time.
Okay, well, we're behind the dial of the Corn Exchange clock here, and I'm going to wind it up. I'm going to start turning the handle. My name is Andrew Nichols. I'm a tower clock specialist based in Bristol. I restore clocks in church towers and that sort of thing. This clock is described as a regulator clock. What we actually have is a timepiece movement, which means there's no striking, and a regulator means that it's made to be an accurate clock. Well, the difference is there's a lot more wheels in the train, and the pinions are a larger count, so basically it's like less friction on the wheels, but you've got more of them, so it maybe cancels out. It would have been a selling point at the time, you know, the 19th century equivalent of saying it's got an i9 processor or something like that. So I know nothing about computers, but it was the bee's knees at the time.
My name's Jeannie Sinclair, and I'm a historian. So the area around Corn Street was the centre for commerce and business in 1841. All the business that was conducted by Bristol's merchants at the Exchange was directly or indirectly connected to the transatlantic slave trade. Although the slave trade was abolished in 1807 and slavery was abolished in the British Empire in 1833, America didn't outlaw slavery until 1865, and so the business conducted in the Exchange in 1841 would still be very much connected to industries like sugar and tobacco that continued to use and exploit enslaved people and indentured labour. All of those merchants who were based here, all of their money was in some way or another connected to the slave trade, and they were the people that petitioned for and were shareholders in, invested in and directors of the Great Western Railway.
Brunswick green locomotives arrived in the year of 1841. The Great Western Railway, they called it, built by Brunel. What once took days was now 4 hours. The big smoke loomed closer. More people were looking up at my face than ever. Time now a currency. For some, a new kind of liberty. For others, a silent tyrant overseeing their lives with a brutal capitalist agenda. And there were reform riots too, mind. People rising up and fighting in 1831 on Bristol city streets, burning and looting for a righteous cause, their right to vote. I could hear the buildings burn in Queen's Square half a mile behind me. Then, right in front of my face, my neighbour across from me, the council house, was attacked with stones. Flushing out the immoral MP Charles Wetherell, the 14th Dragoons charged, helped by bludgeon boys. The window pane smashed into 1,000 pieces. I thought I'd be next. A brick to my pristine glass face. I somehow survived unscathed. A revolution. Air heavy and thick with new. A whole new age had arrived aboard a train from London. The tables were turning. Rise the timetable, a new language of dependence. Bradshaw's companions popped in pockets. Calls for clarity. Henry Booth's pamphlet protested all the different times in favour of one, railway time. Minutes became a matter of conflict. For some, the loss of their local time, an act of railway aggression. Mass confusion as I ticked differently to Cockney time, a city out of sync with its station. I was made principal timekeeper of the city. Proud I was, but frustrated too. Our understanding of time was rewritten across train tracks. That's when they decided to add my extra limb, a new hand. Telegraph technology led a further timekeeping revolution. Instead of guarded pocket watches on trains, the time flew through wires in seconds, completely accurate. Greater rail safety, faster speeds, rapid communication across the globe. Nations' clocks governed by 1,000 telegraph wires. For 11 years, we lived between time zones, 11 minutes apart. Bristol time and railway time. I existed in a state of in-between, ticking between resistance and compliance. By 1852, it was all railway time, though. My extra limb severed, my new hand amputated, a reminder of Bristol time forgotten for nearly a century.
The solution at the time was to put 2-minute hands onto the Corn Exchange clock so that people could see local Bristol time and also railway time, which is Greenwich Mean Time. We did discover a stump of the old minute hand. This research had been done and it was hearsay. There was nothing really to prove it. But we went up in a cherry picker and we found on the minute hand that was there, the stump at exactly the right angle where the superfluous hand was cut off when Bristol adopted Greenwich time. So that was proof that it originally did have that double minute hand.
So before Greenwich Mean Time was universally adopted in 1852, each town or city used local mean time, which was a standardised form of solar time. The introduction of the railway, which travelled at speeds of up to 25 miles an hour, led to a kind of compression of time and space that made a standardised version of time increasingly necessary. The desire for progress and modernity and precision in time-telling and timekeeping meant that merchants of Bristol, many of whom were shareholders in the railway, were keen to promote the move to a standardised time for business. Bristol being 11 minutes behind London was also significant. Bristol didn't want to get left behind to literally be in the past, and the railways were really connected to that. There's even a quote in Dickens' Dombey and Son where it says, "There was even railway time observed in clocks, as if the sun itself had given in."
I've seen lifetimes fly beneath me. 2 world wars flashed by. Bristol blitzed. Glass ceilings smashed behind me, but I remained unharmed. Riots and regeneration. The trading floor exchanged for a swinging 60s dance floor of Rolling Stones and Yardbirds and pretty things. The blues sung from lips of descendants of the slave trade. True soul filled the hallways with humanity, never forgetting how this city paid for itself. Playing returned once again to trading. St Nick's Market below, a modern bazaar filled with wonders, from hot sauce stalls to boutique jewels, a clairvoyance crystal celebrates the independence of Bristol. I had a facelift in 1994 from Andrew Nichols. I was back tick-tocking. He found my forgotten extra limb, reduced to a stump, made me a new one, a reminder of the 11 years of confusion, an 11-minute history not quite lost in time. On Corn Street, banks have now become hotels. In Bristol, courts now student housing. I hear rumours of a hotel moving into the Exchange, public spaces becoming private. I worry this city might look like any other, a city disconnected from its citizens. An invisible virus, a still life. Spring 2020. I catch glimpses of passers-by in face masks, hoping to meet face to face again. Protests continue. Strike for climate and Black Lives Matter. I hear the fall of Edward Colston, murderers like him who once traded beneath me. Protesters' anger, exhilaration, energy fills the air. A long-awaited victory of a history so long denied. A history only museum-worthy. I carry on. I tick. Amid council cuts, I'm maintained less and less. I'm still wound once a week, but I'm scared of slowing down, of seconds slowly slipping away.
It's a unique artefact. They're not made like this anymore because it wouldn't be appropriate in this day and age, but it's important to preserve them because once it's gone, it's gone.
I like to look at people's faces as they look at mine. Years ago, it was because they needed the time. Now they look down to their lit-up screens. My role as this city's timekeeper diminishing. Would they notice if my face were missing? Look up. I hope to still be here in the future. A reminder of the past, an informant of the present. An 11-minute legacy of the people of Bristol, when Bristol ran to Bristol time.